Rex Bear Leak Project. I wanted to give you guys a quick update on a website that I discovered called evilbible.com. And the reason I'm showing you this right now is because yesterday I did a video where I picked up what's called the spirit box, and I attempted to communicate with those on the other side. And some people think that it works. Some people think it's just picking up little bits and pieces of radio stations, and then your mind is coming to the conclusion that it wants to. And I left that information for you guys to decide yourselves. I did a live show that lasted about 40 minutes or so, and we asked a bunch of questions with the audience, and then it responded. So I updated that, and you guys are more than welcome to watch it. It's about 8 minutes or so. But I just wanted to make a point about how all the attacks that come from people that claim to be God-fearing Christians, that claim to be loving people, caring people, and they use the term, what would Jesus do? Well, first of all, you guys know that I've done some serious research into who Jesus actually is and how the church was formed, what it's about, what it has done, what the side effects and repercussions have been of hundreds of years of fake witch trials where people were tortured and burnt at the stake, all in the name of God and plastic God. So these are a couple of quotes that scare me more than any Ouija board, more than just about any occult book that I've read or book on magic. These quotes out of the Bible definitely, they're at the top. They're at the top. I was going to read these the other day, but they spooked me out so bad I decided not to. And then after reading through the comments yesterday, I even had somebody that has been on my show before that boasts about being a shape-shifting witch, warlock dude. I'm not going to say his name. This dude's been on my show before, and then he came in the comment section and said, "Oh, that pyramid you have on the Ouija board wasn't designed to be evil, but it's all about clicks, right?" And this is coming from a guy that claims he's a werewolf shapeshifter that has skulls in his car and his house, and it's just bizarre. So if you think a piece of wood and a FM radio attempting to communicate with those on the other side is evil, wow, I thought you were smarter than that. But hey, that's cool. That's cool. I would say what's a little bit more evil is stuff that, like for example, let's say you're a superior being and you genetically manipulate these little, what were those things called? The seahorses. Remember the seahorses? Okay, well, let's say you genetically modify some seahorses to where they have a higher level of consciousness. And then you decide they've got too much consciousness, so you just need to flush them down the toilet. And you gave them a little too much. And let's say one of them you decide you want to do something for you. Let's say one of them you want to be your minion. So you want to test that seahorse minion out. And you're like, okay, this is what I want you to do. Well, that's kind of the feeling I get when I read some of these quotes out of the Bible, the scariest book in the world. For example, Genesis in the Old Testament. "Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I will point out to you." Genesis 22, 1 through 18. That's God? Or is that somebody attempting to be a God? Now here's another one. How about in Exodus 13:2? The Lord says, consecrate to me every firstborn that opens the womb among Israelites, both man and beast, for it belongs to me. Leviticus 27, 28 through 29. Note also that any one of his possessions, which a man vows as doomed to the Lord, whether it is human being or an animal, or a hereditary field, shall be neither sold nor ransomed. Everything that is thus doomed becomes most sacred to the Lord. All human beings that are doomed lose the right to be redeemed they must be put to death. How about Jephthah burning his daughter? At that time, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he went throughout the land of Gilead and Manasseh, including Mizpah and Gilead, and led an army against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. He said, if you give me victory over the Ammonites, I will give to the Lord the first thing coming out of my house to greet me when I return in triumph. I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. So Jephthah led his army against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave him victory. He thoroughly defeated the Ammonites from Aroer to an area near Minnith, 20 towns, and as far away as Abel Carmim. Thus Israel subdued the Ammonites. When Jephthah returned home to Mizpah, his daughter, his only child, ran out to meet him, playing on a tambourine and dancing for joy. When he saw her, he tore his clothes in anguish. My daughter, he cried out, my heart is breaking. What a tragedy that you came out to greet me, for I have made a vow to the Lord and cannot take it back. And she said, Father, you have made a promise to your Lord, or you have made a promise to the Lord. You must do to me what you have promised, for the Lord has given you a great victory over your enemies, the Ammonites. But first let me go up and roam in the hills and weep with my friends for 2 months, because I will die a virgin. You may go, Jephthah said, and he let her go away for 2 months. She and her friends went into the hills and wept because she would never have children. When she returned home, her father kept his vow, and she died a virgin. So it has become a custom in Israel for young Israelite women to go away for 4 days each year to lament the fate of Jephthah's daughter. Judges 11:29 through 40. So I could go on. I'm not going to. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't that not only make you sad but bother you? I mean, this is kind of stuff that makes me emotional. Because could you imagine putting yourself in that situation? Now, yeah, granted, we're looking at it from an outsider's point of view. Yes, this is a different translation. It was originally Hebrew, right? So what's the difference there? And is it any better in the other translation? How could it be? These are the questions that I ask that get me into situations where people constantly attack me in the comment section because I am questioning their faith. And if your faith is so strong, then why do you need to send wicked angels my way when I'm playing with a Ouija board to see if it even works and I'm just goofing around anyway? First of all, that Ouija board has never moved for me. I've only played with it a couple times. It's never done anything. It's a piece of wood that has carvings in it, numbers and letters. Now, can it be used as a communication device to communicate with the other side? Sure, why not? See this cup of coffee that I got right here? I could probably use this cup of coffee to communicate with the other side too. You know how people have used chicken bones in the past, or dice, or tea leaves? What are your intentions? And for people to come out and say that it's evil, and then that comment that one person made, that's astonishing to me. Because first of all, how is that evil? What is evil by asking questions? Please answer me, what is evil by asking questions? Now, if you are stuck in the paradigm of this Old Testament God, which I just read some passages of the Old Testament God, if that's who you worship, then ignorance is bliss to you. Because if you know what's really going on, it's going to freak you out. You're not going to have these beautiful colored pictures in your mind anymore of who your God is. And you might start to get a little bit nervous. You might start to realize that even Sesame Street and Barney aren't going to be able to save you anymore. Sucking down your diet sodas on your couch, fantasizing about this white bearded man in the heavens that decided to sacrifice his son on a cross in a very torturous way so that you could be sinful because he gave you free will. If you want to believe all that, that's fine. Believe it. Why is it that people like you, though, are so judgmental when even the Bible tells you not to be? Why is it that people like you are so hateful and angry towards others if they question your faith? Shouldn't your faith be strong enough? Shouldn't your absence of knowledge be strong enough? I've read so many passages in the Gnostic texts. I've read the New Testament multiple times. I've read the Old Testament. And it seems to me that, first of all, Jesus, the Jesus that you're worshiping, isn't even the real Jesus. And second of all, even the parables in the New Testament, many of them are good enough to give people an idea on how to treat others as yourself. Treat your neighbor as yourself. Isn't that one of Jesus' most important rules? Yet people don't understand that because religion is used as a tool to divide, conquer, create illusions and confusions, and imprison your mind, body, and soul. Literally, religions are used to imprison your mind, body, and soul. These archetypes are used to imprison your mind, your body, and your soul. These energies that are created when a billion people worship something. Have you ever been a part of a sports team, or have you ever been a part of an event where you had a crowd that was listening to you or watching you play a game? You can feel the energy. It's electric. I like it when Conan O'Brien, when he does his shows sometimes, and he'll have guests come down, they'll sit down, and the crowd's just going wild, because the crowd, he's so good with people. But then he'll be like, yes, absorb the energies. Doesn't it feel, and then he's like giving it to, he's like, doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel good? When you have entities that create mind prisons and create these constructs of deja vu archetypes and events that have been going on throughout time, and then they give you this carrot at the end of the stick. Oh, you better worship me or you're going to spend eternity in hell. Oh, you better give your tithings. Oh, you better not question the official status quo. Oh, you better not use your mind and think for yourself. Oh my goodness, you had an out-of-body experience, you're going to get demon-possessed. Oh, you see that guy on YouTube named Rex that's got Leak Project? We better give him a hard time because he's questioning the status quo. We better go on there and just repeat a bunch of stuff that we really don't know what it means. It's amazing to read some of these comments that people leave that are stuck in this like King James version. They write stuff out and you're like, do you even know what that means? They're like, the blood of the Lamb will save you and the fallen angels will burn you in hell. And I hope that they get you straight. I hope that the bad angels set you straight. The bad evil angels need to set you straight and put you back on your path, Rex. Because you have an FM transmitter on a board. And you're asking questions. That's evil. Wow. I can just imagine what it would have been like being a little bit different in England in the 1400s, in the 1500s, in the 1600s, in the 1700s, in the 1800s. Imagine being a female and being very pretty and being a little bit different. Imagine if you didn't just kiss that ring on the bishop's finger every time he walked his stinky ass past you. And then people say, oh, they're witches, they're evil, they're dancing in the woods at night. Look at those scary costumes. We better go to church and talk about how we're going to kill them later for Jesus. You really think the real Jesus would have any of that? First of all, Dumazid from the Sumerian kings list that ruled for 36,000 years before the flood, the king shepherd, and then after the flood, there was a king Dumuzid that ruled for 100 years. There was two translations. One was 100 years, one was 110 years after the flood. When he went to heaven, he actually was, in these Sumerian tablets, it talks about how he went to heaven. He ascended to heaven. And that makes me think of Jesus going into heaven. Well, he also united the people. He was a good person. He was a good king. He wasn't a bishop that created this or was a part of this construct of control that if you stepped outside of the parameters, it was so fear-based, so trauma-based, so disgusting, so vile, so wicked. If anybody wrote the Bible, if anybody wrote the Old Testament, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was the devil, okay? If there's a devil, which I definitely think there is, you read the Old Testament, it's the scariest book I've ever read. And people cling to it like it's the handbook of divine source. And if that's your opinion, right on. I'm not judging you like you judge me. I have my opinions. I have my thoughts. You're going to do what you're going to do. I have friends that are Jewish. I have friends that are Muslim. I have friends that are Christian and Lutheran and Wiccan and pagan. And I have friends that have all sorts of different spiritual beliefs. Yet there's one thing I've noticed they have in common. They're good people. They have good values. They have good morals. They believe in what they do. They believe in what they worship. It makes me think about how, especially in religious levels, Christian levels, you can talk to 100 different pastors and they'll all have a different answer about what God is. And they'll all have different answers on the Bible and the passages and you know how symbolic it is and how literal it is. And kind of like you ask 100 people that drive if they're good drivers, most of them are going to say yes. Or you ask them if they're above average drivers. Ask 100 people if they're above an average driver and see what they say. Most of them will say yes. Well, how does that make sense if it's an average? It's because that's what people think. People's thoughts are a lot more powerful than they realize. The mind is mightier than the pen is mightier than the sword. Powers that be know this. They've created religious dynasties that harvest people in the physical realms, the spiritual realms, and the mental realms. Recycle you back and back and back again. What if the mind is so powerful that you go to church and you think you sin? Therefore, because of the mind control paradigm that's been created, you therefore project a hell and create a hell. So when you pass, that energy goes into that hell construct. What if you're literally creating your hell construct by these religious paradigms? I have shared with you enough literature, ancient scribes and ancient tablets written by scribes that are far older and predate the Bible, that should clarify a lot about what demigods versus divine source actually is. And that's my opinion. So I just wanted to do this podcast to really put into perspective how powerful and I'm trying to think of the word. It's like not opposite, but people are putting all this energy into what they think is just and right, when if you look at it from outside of a religious mind control paradigm, you might realize that you're feeding the beast that you're telling people you're against. It's like saying that the only Bible you read is the King James Bible and all Freemasons are evil. Then you find out King James was a Freemason. It's just ridiculous. But that's the way the world works today. You find out that Easter is a representation of Ishtar. Ishtar is Inanna. Inanna spent 3 nights and 3 days in the netherworld, and she gave up Dumuzid in replace for herself. Dumuzid is Jesus. Jesus is celebrated as the resurrection day on Easter, when in reality, that's when Ishtar, Easter, Inanna, gave up her husband, Numuzid, the shepherd king, to the netherworld, to the Anunnaki gods, so that she could pass and not go back into the netherworld. And then people are worshiping Easter as the day of the resurrection of Christ. People say that they eat the flesh of Christ and drink the blood of Christ in these Eucharist rituals as a way to remember him while wearing a cross of him being nailed and tortured. When Jesus comes back, do you think he's going to want to see people pretending to drink his blood, eat his flesh, and wear crosses of his torture? Yet that's what the church wants you to think. And that's, remember guys, most of this stuff came from the Vatican. That if you don't pay your tithings, if you don't go to church, and if you don't go to confession and confess your sins, well, then you're going to purgatory and you're going to hell and you're going to burn. So you better give some more money to the church. Symbolism's bad, right? No symbolism. You shouldn't have symbolism in the church. The pine cone, the serpent head. That's not symbolism, is it? Of course it is. Do as we say, don't do as we do. That's the mindset of these religious leaders. Somebody asked me yesterday, or somebody said yesterday in the podcast I was doing about these, about the spirit box here, this FM radio. And I don't even know where I was going with this. Somebody said something. I don't remember. It's early for me. I was up late, and I've got a lot to do today. I wasn't even going to do this podcast, but after reading through those comments, I needed to put things into perspective for you guys. So let's close out tonight with something positive. Let's close out tonight with something happy, something beneficial, something of high vibrations. I have got this is the 6th tablet. I think it's the 6th tablet. Yeah, tablet 6, the Key of Magic, Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And, I've got this from the 7th Planet Mercury Rising. Gerald Clark put in all the Emerald Tablets in here. Pick up your copy today at geraldclark77.com. Use the code LEAKPROJECT. Get a 10% discount. What I am doing right now is I am calling the spirits of light. I'm calling the cycle masters of the light. And Thoth recommends doing this to eliminate any negative mojo, any nasty woo-woo. This is going to circle you guys and myself with a kind, loving light and protection. So here we go. Call to the spirit of light through the space-time, using these words, and thou shalt be free. Fill thou my body, O spirit of life. Fill thou my body with spirit of light. Come from the flower that shines through the darkness. Come from the halls where the 7 lords rule. Name them by name. I, the 7, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9. By their names I call them to aid me, free me, and save me from the darkness of night. Untanus, Quertus, Cheetal, and Goiana, Hurtel, Sumveta, Ardal. By their names I implore thee, free me from darkness and fill me with light. Know ye, O man, when ye have done this, ye shall be free from the fetters that bind ye. Cast off the bondage of the brothers of night. See ye not that the names have the power to free by vibration the fetters that bind? Use them at need to free thou thine brother, so that he too may come forth from the night. Thou, O man, art thy brother's helper. Let him not lie in the bondage of night. Now unto thee give I my magic. Take it and dwell on the pathway of light. Light unto thee, life unto thee. Sun, may thou be on the cycle above. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me this edition of Leak Project. I hope I put things into perspective now. And good vibes, good vibrations. I've put that Ouija board far, far away. It's tucked far, far away. I don't plan on pulling that thing back out anytime soon. And it never worked anyway, and it just seems to upset most people on Leak Project. And that's not what this is about. This is a group effort, ladies and gentlemen. It's about getting to the truth. It's about getting knowledge. It's about being the change that we want to see. And be excellent to each other. They're at the top. They're at the top. I was going to read these the other day, but they spooked me out so bad I decided not to. And then after reading through the comments yesterday, I even had somebody that has been on my show before that boasts about being a shape-shifting witch, warlock dude. I'm not going to say his name. This dude's been on my show before, and then he came in the comment section and said, "Oh, you know, that pyramid you have on the Ouija board wasn't designed to be evil, but, you know, it's all about clicks, right?" And this is coming from a guy that claims he's a Rex Bear Leak Project. I wanted to give you guys a quick update on a website that I discovered called evilbible.com. And the reason I'm showing you this right now is because yesterday I did a video where I picked up what's called the spirit box, and I attempted to communicate with those on the other side. And some people think that it works. Some people think it's just picking up little bits and pieces of radio stations, and then your mind is coming to the conclusion that it wants to. And I left that information for you guys to decide yourselves. I did a live show that lasted about 40 minutes or so, and we asked our wolf shapeshifter that has skulls in his car and his house, and it's just bizarre. So if you think a piece of wood and a FM radio attempting to communicate with those on the other side is evil, wow, I thought you were smarter than that. But hey, that's cool. That's cool. I would say what's a little bit more evil is stuff that, you know, like for example, let's say you're a superior being and you genetically manipulate these little what it has done, what the side effects and repercussions have been of hundreds of years of fake witch trials where people were tortured and burnt at the stake, all in the name of God and plastic God. So these are a couple of quotes that scare me more than any Ouija board, more than just about any occult book that I've read or book on magic. These quotes out of the Bible definitely a bunch of questions with the audience, and then it responded. So I updated that, and you guys are more than welcome to watch it. It's about 8 minutes or so. But I just wanted to make a point about how all the attacks that come from people that claim to be God-fearing Christians, that claim to be loving people, caring people, and they use the term, "What would Jesus do?" Well, first of all, you guys know that I've done some serious research into who Jesus actually is and how the church was formed, what it's about, what